Hello, welcome to the inaugural annual Eddie Small Disability Lecture. My name is Professor Fiona Kamari Campbell. I'm a Professor of Disability and Ableism Studies in the School of Education and Social Work at the University of Dundee. But I'm also the co-chair of the Disabled Staff Network. And this annual lecture has been sponsored by the Disabled Staff Network and the university's EDI office, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Office. So you might be wondering, what's the naming behind this lecture, the annual Eddie Small Disability Lecture? Eddie Small, the late Eddie Small, was an active member of the Disabled Staff Network. He was a historian, a playwright, a creative writing tutor, and was the public engagement officer in the School of Humanities at the University of Dundee. He was a well-known face in Dundee literary circles and wrote the play The Four Marys, as well as the book Mary Lily Walker, the Forgotten Visionary of Dundee, and also another work, Two Bodies Gone, the latter which saw Eddie research the history of death in Scotland, with an emphasis on practices and rituals surrounding bereavement. He also was a strong advocate for an awareness of disability and participated in the university's Hands of X project, which was sponsored by DJ CAD, Education and Social Work and the School of Humanities. And this Hands of X project brought together design and disability advocacy in an innovative way. Eddie won the Stephen Fry Award for Public Engagement, so it seems fitting to have a named annual lecture in his honour, and we do truly feel honoured. And as I said earlier, this is the first annual lecture. I just want to say a little bit about the event. We are pre-recording the main lecture, my introduction that I'm doing now, and the main lecture by the esteemed John Horon, and we're doing it so we can get it captioned for you. And but we will be taking live Q&A. After the event is finished, there will be a recording uploaded to the university's YouTube page. Let me tell you about John. John, we're so thrilled to have John with us. John is a barrister at the Cloisters Chamber in London, and he specialises in all kinds of anti-discrimination work. On the day before the millennium, John had a stroke. It changed his life and made him a passionate discrimination lawyer. His extensive experience in battling for the rights of disabled people has led to an expertise in employment, goods and services, education and public authorities law. John was the first barrister to receive guidance from the EAT, and he'll tell us a little bit about that. That's the Employment Tribunal, Court of Appeals Northern Ireland, Court of Appeals England and Wales, about disabled people's rights before any court or tribunal. John's a champion for disabled people's rights in the real world, and he lectures about the Equal Treatment Bench Book and Article 13 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Disabled People. In 2016, John was listed by Power 100 as one of Britain's most influential people with a disability. In 2015, John hosted the European Commission's Monitoring Committee in Brussels on the rights of people with disabilities and the courts. His views have led him, and no doubt his amazing status has led him to be interviewed by the BBC's Ouch programme and national media and press. He championed the rights of the disability community and was awarded the Bar Council's Pro Bono Lawyer for the Year in 2003. John appears frequently for law centres, various tribunals and boards, the Bar Pro Bono Unit, the Disability Law Association, and he writes for many legal magazines. As you can see, he's a man with a passion, a true champion, and a wonderful example of how a disabled advocate can do productive work within the legal profession and champion the absolute rights and necessity of equalities for disabled people. So I'm really, really excited to hear what John has got to say to us today, and the message that he's going to deliver. So welcome, John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I want to start by considering my history, and you have heard Fiona say largely what is featured on my webpage, the Cloister's website, and the various things that she has said about me. My Pro Bono Law of the Year prize recognised by the Bar Council, my Power 100 award, but most importantly, my work towards linking the English Equal Treatment Bench Book to Article 13 of the UN Convention, and what that means on the ground, and the decisions that the court or tribunal have to make, has meant that is now the law, and without me that wouldn't exist. I'm very, very proud of my life and my career, and being able to make the choices which has led me to such high awards. But what I want to talk to you about is double standards and even double speak that the barrister's profession and the solicitor's profession, and most worryingly the judge's profession, seem to view disabled people. And I say disabled people because I'm disabled. I'm actually a barrister. There are a few disabled solicitors. There are a few, actually quite a lot, of disabled clients. And it's to explore the effect that doublespeak can have. During my career, when I was qualifying for those awards and fighting for my clients' rights for reasonable adjustments to the court process, I had another aspect. The Bar Council, or to be actually clear, the Bar Standards Board, because they are now different. Around 2003-4, invited me to an interview because in one case they'd had word from the Court of Appeal judges that my oral submissions hadn't advanced the case at all with the client. It was a sex discrimination case, and we won. But the judges, three-man Court of Appeal judges, criticised my advocacy, and I was asked to attend a meeting. I was then asked to attend a meeting which had potentially legal consequences, and indeed 2005 I started about a 2-year period when I was banned by the Bar Standards Board from appearing at all in the upper tribunals, and I had to get permission from the judge, case to case, that I was allowed to appear in the first instance case. The reason was my performance at the Court of Appeal hearing. I was shocked. I appealed. The secondary panel, which deal with appeals, looked at what I'd done and said. I think I was on my feet for half an hour. They found that the Court of Appeal interrupted me 33 times in 30 minutes. They also found that a able-bodied practitioner, even if he had a bad day, was entitled to, everyone has bad days. And that was the one occasion on which this Court of Appeal judged me. And the very fact that supposing they were right, supposing I had let my client down, so what? That doesn't involve the Bar Standards Board saying, we're going to ban you from the appeal hearings, and only with permission for every case can you advocate in first instance tribunals. So I was really shocked, and I took the Bar Standards Board to Employment Tribunal, because your rights are protected if you're a barrister as well as if you're protected as an employee. They absolutely denied that any discrimination had occurred. They absolutely denied that any discrimination occurred up to about a month from the hearing, when they said, yes, we admit that discrimination had occurred. They didn't apologise. They didn't make any attempt at paying me back any money, say for £5,000 into each feeling. Now, at that point, I thought, well, I've got at least their admission that they discriminated against me, and that's enough. So, at the same time as the Bar Council had me down as Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year, for 4.5 years, I had firstly the first instance appeal, secondly the upper tribunal appeal, and thirdly the employment tribunal case. No apology at all at any point from the Bar Standards Board. Stark contrast. Could you put the slide, the first slide up, please? That was my story, but actually, I have another classic example. There you can see my Chambers profile, and very, very impressive. Could you turn the slide? This was not actually from my Cloisters website at all. It was snatched from my Cloisters website to inhabit a website designed for humour among the solicitors and barristers who are, let's call them city solicitors and barristers. I was honoured, inverted commas, to be this month's glamorous solicitor, and that was decided literally a week and a half ago. But I want you to look at the caption, which is just at the bottom of the photograph. Discrimination claim. Dead pheasant. John's your man. Discrimination claim. Dead pheasant. John's your man. We live in double standard times. We live in double standards time. This is a website which is designed for largely able-bodied, largely white, largely male barristers and solicitors. They doubtless knew I was disabled because you can't take a photograph off the website without me announcing that I'm disabled. I'm disabled and proud of it. My clients are largely disabled. They're largely, nowadays, also vulnerable people, which means they must have reasonable adjustments before they can perform as well as their able-bodied peers. My life has been devoted to making sure that that is right and accepted by judges in all jurisdictions throughout the four countries of Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Dead pheasant. Now, I'm sure that, inverted commas, they mean well, close inverted commas. I'm also sure that the immediate reaction by any barrister or solicitor or judge would be, oh, well, that's very shocking and totally unacceptable, and we're glad you brought this to our attention, and maybe I'll get an apology out of it this time. But how can myself, a barrister, try to, and I think succeed in challenging the legal profession and the judicial profession and winning the vast majority of the cases that I do, to have change the law so that Article 13 is respected? How can I be forced to complain about a website devoted to humour among city solicitors and barristers? If I was able-bodied, there would be no such thing. Both examples underlie my ambivalence about both my profession, the solicitor's profession, and the judge's profession. I used to say before the stroke that I had 65 solicitors who I knew were serial instructors, and I compiled a list because I was moving chambers. Then I had my stroke. Then I recovered. I went back to practice after 16 months. I emailed them all to say I've come back. 2 solicitors carried on instructing me. 2. There is a problem at the bar, and a problem in the solicitor's profession, and a problem with in the judiciary about disabled people. Now, I used to look at it as a series of problems. Disabled people undoubtedly were at a disadvantage, realistically, when it came to pupillage, bar school, and being taken on as a tenant. Disabled people were at a disadvantage being a tenant. Disabled people were at a disadvantage being a solicitor. And disabled people were at a disadvantage being a client. And each of the roles that disabled people tried to assume led to the solicitor's profession, the barrister's profession, and the judge's profession having a problem. But it was only after I stopped my conversations about them with able-bodied barristers, able-bodied solicitors, and able-bodied judges, and started my conversations with academics like Fiona, that I realised that I was looking at it wrongly, and the disabled community as a whole was looking at it wrongly, to the extent that there was any written information about the disabled community, their experience through coming to court, whether as a client or whether as barrister or whether as solicitor or whether a judge. There was no, or almost no, source which could tell me the story about what happened to them. And I realized profoundly that actually it was the same problem. Actually, it was the same persons who were dealing with disabled people, whether as your opponent or as your instructing barrister or as your client. Largely white, largely male, largely upper middle class. And I realized that this is a problem between justice and being disabled. I have had a long time to think about what I could do which could help. I already offer disabled as well as other trainee barristers a chance to accompany me to a conference or a case. I have just put down myself for mentoring with an organisation, a new organisation called Bridging the Bar. But I wonder, you see, in a most profound sense, it is naive of us, I think, to assume that barristers and solicitors and judges have a completely neutral attitude towards disabled people.
5 minutes, John.
Thank you. I think that there is an indication that some judges are actively hostile to disabled people asserting their rights. What they need is people, and particularly disabled people, to represent them in court and tribunal. I know I'm very aware. I know that certainly among my peers, I know of 3 people, including me, who are barristers and also are disabled people, who can advise on discrimination law. That's not good enough. During the last 5 minutes, really, I want to address the question of, given what I've said, why should anyone want to be a barrister or solicitor or judge who is disabled? And the answer is clear. It's twofold. Firstly, to give disabled clients a fair crack of the whip, and to whatever their lawyer says, or maybe they haven't got a lawyer, to address reasonable adjustments if there is an indication, however slight, that they may have a problem with some aspect of representation. And it can be before court, after, during court or after court. But also it's on a most profound level, there's no good reason that disabled people can't be barristers and solicitors and judges. I will fight until I'm my last breath to get able-bodied judges to realise that we are just as effective, and indeed, in certain regards, we are more effective than our able-bodied peers. And I think I proved that through my series of cases which go towards the Equal Treatment Bench Book and Article 13. So, although it is a long and sometimes lonely road, which is completely different to the experience of able-bodied judges, and has a lot of additional hurdles. And although the prize when you get there is not loads of money, because your chambers can offer you this solicitor, that solicitor, it's worth getting there because you have your unique prize, which is to explain to the judges and eventually to the legal and judicial profession entirely the point of view of disabled people and the fact that you have a right to be heard. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, wow. Thank you very much, John, for that brilliant talk, a provocative talk, which is what an annual disability lecture is about. You're absolutely a trailblazer in speaking out and breaking the silence. I mean, what you have discussed in terms of your own journey and bringing together the issues is probably speaking about that which hasn't been spoken and in fact might indeed be silenced. So I think that is really, really significant, and I hope people think about what you've said.
So thank you for that powerful talk, John. I just want to bring together some of the kind of key takeaways of your speech and something for people to think about, because they what you've discussed is quite deep and provocative, and I think I'm using the word provocation in a really good way, in an exciting way. So one of the things I picked up was the Bar Standards Council, or whatever the name of the group was. I mean, they were engaged in differential treatment, differentiating standards, you know, which really was about also censoring the disabled voice, you know. And one of the themes I picked up, and actually it was a legal theorist that talked about this, Professor Margaret Thornton, talked about the concept of what's called homosociality. And what she was referring to, actually she was talking about originally women's exclusion from the law back in the day, but it's really about this idea that people like to be with their own kind, whether they recognise it or not. And you've already pointed out the fact that own kind in this case is, you know, able-bodied white men, no doubt even from a particular social class. So this kind of social closure and resistance to opening up to up the doors. And what this is pointing to, I mean, what's quite radical about your talk is there's two dimensions. There's the case law and there's the arguing the cases in court. But what we're actually seeing is an example of institutionalised ableism in the law and the legal profession. And you've spoken about that today, power to truth on that. And that's why it's about breaking the silence. This is not just a case of bad attitudes, but there's actually a shoring up, a protectionism, I might say. The other thing about your talk that is very powerful is, and heartbreaking, I might say, is what happens behind the scenes. The reality of subtle discrimination. You raise the issue about even recognition of harms, even if at the end dragging and kicking and screaming that there's a recognition that, you know, there's been discrimination. It's really not internalised into the consciousness that actually ableism is harmful and you were caused harm, and in fact by default every other disabled solicitor and barrister, and in fact disabled people generally. I must say I was quite alarmed, but again not surprised by this mockery in the example that you gave, and again an example of speaking out. Some people might say, oh, he shouldn't be talking about this stuff in public, but mockery, and which is really, from my perspective, tantamount to a form of hate speech again. I know that word often gets overused, but what does this do to the experiences of disabled people? I agree that I think the challenge is not to put people off, but I think, again, what's powerful about your talk is even successful people like yourself have this kind of twilight zone reality that there's success, there's success, there's success, there's recognitions, there's awards, but there's this kind of underbelly of a cesspool of institutionalised ableism that actually does have a personal and emotional cost. So I want to thank you for the gift that you've given today in this first annual Eddie Small Disability Lecture, and take that away and use this chance now to open up questions to the audience. You can put your questions in the post and get the discussion going, and I'm sure John would be happy to answer any of your questions, your observations, and use this rich time together to get this discussion going in the public fora. So thank you very much again, John Horon, for doing our first lecture. I must say, after hearing you talk, I am absolutely thrilled that you were a brilliant choice in the first place. You've done the job, and thank you for being a trailblazer for us.
Right. Welcome back. It was quite interesting watching that again, and thanks again, John, for such a confronting talk. You raised some really, really pressing issues. The legal profession and universities as well are implored to reflect upon the existence of institutionalised ableism in their social organisation and practices. And I hope this annual Eddie Small Disability Lecture will be a contribution to thinking more deeply about these issues. Now, we have a number of questions from the audience. Please keep bringing your questions in, and we will try and get through them as much as possible. So I just want to open up with one question of mine, and then I'll go through and look through the existing questions there. You asked a quite a deadly question, John, I think midway through your talk. You asked, why would anyone want to be a disabled solicitor, barrister, and for Scotland, advocate or judge? Question mark. I'm just wondering, given the overwhelming sense of institutionalised ableism that you've spoken about, and despite your success, the horrific treatment throughout, do you not think that might put people off? So over to you, John.
Well, I think it might put people off. but not the large majority of disabled people. And the reason that I think they should follow my lead is a simple one. If you're disabled, your expectations about what life can get you generally is diminished in every form of life. I mean, I'm a barrister, but the same story would occur if I was an accountant, or I was a hospital doctor, or I worked in a shop, or indeed I couldn't get a job. Disabled people in every aspect of their life are second-class citizens. What I think I bring to the party is a story about what is in fact meant by second-class citizen. I bring that story, whether it's with me as the subject or with another disabled person who I might represent. But I think it's naive for any disabled person to think that they have the same life chances in any profession as their able-bodied peers. And of course, that's the point. That's why I'm so angry about it, and why I do my level best to change that situation.
Thanks for that, John. I've got another question from Professor Ashok Jasapura. He's asked, what are your views about having disabled representation on panels, tribunals and juries, ? Having recently watched Steve McQueen's film of the Mangrove 9, Ian McDonald QC argued that the jury should be made up of an all-black jury deciding on all-black defendants. Given the precedent of the Magna Carta saying that a case should be tried by one's peers, could this get over your sense of double standards and double speak among the legal profession? Over to you, John.
Well, I am not one who believes that the only fair approach judge that will do in a disabled person's case is another disabled person. And I say that for two reasons. Firstly, it wouldn't work. I mean, just to organise such a group of disabled people in the current UK system, it would take years. But also, I've met some judges, some employment judges, some appeal judges, dare I say it, many judges who absolutely want to understand and who get discrimination, disabled discrimination, and actively seek to address it. Now, quite a different thing is, should we expect either to have no disabled judges or members of the tribunal, or to have them so they're rare as hen's teeth, which is the situation in certainly England and Wales as I speak. I mean, there are a few disabled judges, but the same names get cited again and again and again by the judiciary, and it's never, oh, and they're the foot soldiers of a huge army of disabled lawyers who we're about to make judges. And that is quite wrong.
It is.
Yeah, disabled people make up, depending on which learning expert you read, between 20 and 30, sorry, 10 and 20% of this country's population. And there are one or two judges. I mean, double standards.
Yep. Thanks, John. We've got quite a few questions piling up, so if I can just humbly request just a kind of short responses, that would be great, because I just would like to get through as many questions as possible. Rachel Wallace has asked, I'm doing my PhD on whether the Equality Act enables physically disabled graduates and people with chronic illness to enter and develop a career within the professions of law and medicine in Scotland. Yeah. She said, I have had problems and was unsuccessful. I have cerebral palsy and use a wheelchair. Do you think the culture in the law profession is prohibited to disabled graduates? ? I think they see disability is seen as a weakness. So you get the gist of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, and in so many regards, I mean, there is the physical access to courts, which is one of the major things you have as a disabled person. Not particularly as it affected me, but if I were wheelchair bound, there are still maybe the majority of courts in England and Wales, and I think Scotland, which you can't access if you're in a wheelchair. But it's more, in addition, subtler things that are done. You have a right to expect reasonable adjustments to all of the aspects of your disability in your training and your performance of these professional roles.
Yes, thank you, John. Actually, we've got a question from another student. As a mature student completing my diploma of professional legal practice, I'm very anxious about applying for training contracts. The lack of a network of disabled lawyers in Scotland, another Scottish person, to call on does make you feel very much at a disadvantage. Just a brief comment there, John.
I absolutely. And I tried almost 20 years ago to set one up and was repeatedly knocked back. Maybe I'll try again, because something must be done, and it's important that we disabled people realise that it's up to us. We can't expect even the legal profession to be, inverted commas, kind to us, because they may talk a good game, but if you look at their actions, well, it's inaction.
Yeah, and actually, John, the next the next question, John, follows on from that. This person has said, I find your words alarming that there is systemic discrimination against disabled people in the legal profession and the judiciary. This sounds similar to systematic racism in the police force. Do we need a disabled inquiry such as the Macpherson report to tease out this discrimination and put strong changes forward to the judiciary? Great question.
What is the answer? I don't know. Certainly, it is worth thinking about. But in answer to the last question, a bit of the answer must be that to realise that you're not alone if you're disabled and wanting to enter legal professions. I guess the point I'm making is we should come together in here. I personally feel alone terribly, and you know, it's through meetings like this or lectures like this that I realise that I'm not alone, and that's a problem for one group of people, for the disabled brotherhood and sisterhood. It's not anything that need bother current government, because when they are not forming up into an organisation, well, their views never matter. So
yes, thanks.
I agree.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think there's definitely merit and strength in numbers and solidarity and presence and mentoring, and hopefully this will be the kind of stimulus for some kind of mentoring to take place through existing practitioners, but also for students as well. Much food for thought. I've got a question now, and we've probably got about another 4 minutes, John, which is taking a different angle here now. So the person has asked, are there any key pointers for those who find that they have to take civil action regarding disability discrimination? I've struggled to find representation in Scotland, which means I've had to represent myself. And I imagine that that question would apply to actually all the 4 nations.
Well, indeed, I frankly, the disabled population throughout the UK are in a worse position to get advice and representation than they've ever been since we last had a Labour government. And the answer is, I don't know in Scotland what charities you have and whether legal aid tangibly exists or not, as it doesn't in England and Wales. 2 things: keep on asking, keep on trying the various legal charities. There is undoubtedly a charity like Advocates who directly instructs barristers, but also have a look at the Equal Treatment Benchbook, because you have a right to ask the judge at the earliest possible stage as a disabled person to allow you reasonable adjustments in the court process. And that is beyond the hearings, is looking at your needs and how they differ from able-bodied persons, and to make some order to compensate. And it's a very, very powerful tool if unknown, or substantially unknown until I raised the point in my series of cases.
Thanks, John. We'll put together a resource guide. There's been a couple of questions from students as well. So I think if the 2 of us put our heads together and put a resource guide of organisations, the Just Law Centre, for example, in Scotland has a new disability project. So we can put that, and we can provide a link to that when it's uploaded to YouTube. Well, I've got 1 minute to go before I have to wrap things up. So again, I want to absolutely thank you for being the keynote speaker for the annual Eddie Small Disability Lecture. Thank you again for coming. Thank you to the audience for participating. I'd like to bring the event to a close. We will be uploading the video to YouTube. Please share the love, spread it around, and thank you once again.